Evening, everybody. Can you see and hear? I'm on a little bit of a weird delay. Hopefully that doesn't translate your way, but yeah, you'll see that delay happening some on my end. Not sure why, but you know, we always have fun visitors that join us here. So, how is everybody tonight? Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here and coming along. Uh, I think you can see the question that I answered already, and I hope that that suffices for an answer. Um, It was asked here, question that I answered already, and I hope that that's hold on a second. We're getting all crazy. Um, somebody asked here about the nom de guerre and the dead person and why our claims of life are all in caps. And my answer was that it's like a shout out, it's like a command. But when it's put into the proper punctuation or the grammar, in my understanding, it's okay. But if it's the grammar's not around it to punctuate that in contract form, then it's not okay. It would be considered fiction. So, welcome, good evening, and yep, I'm definitely on some kind of funny delay. So we'll be like a little baseball stadium. I'll speak, and then you'll hear me. If I start singing the national anthem, you hear the delay. Just stand up. Oh my goodness. Everybody having a really good Friday night. This is absolutely the craziest week on record, I swear to God. Oh my God. Somebody, let's say a prayer to start the night, right? I never do this, but we're going to this time. and and my I don't know if you can see this, but my large white kitty is here with us too. She's set up camp. She's right here. She's in studio and she's with us. So dear God, please bless all the listeners and all the guests and all those that come through this portal and in this channel for the highest light. May they be protected in all ways, and may they get the information that you seek to convey in their heart of hearts. And may they synthesize this information for their soul growth. And may all souls find the peace and the harmony that they look for throughout time, now and forever. And so it is. Thank you. Amen. All right, everybody, we're here. And I mean that from my heart of hearts to you. So, okay, I have some interesting things to share with you. First up, after the William Cotel show, in case you haven't been following, a lot of things started to roll and happen. And today they were featuring on the news all the people he talked about from Venezuela coming over. And they were showing them going into the Roosevelt in New York City. And um, so he was talking truth to you about how they're moving in and coming along over, but mostly from Venezuela. So, oh, there's our friend. So these these refugees and people that are being forced out of their country looking for safety are coming in and being moved all over the country at the moment. And we have an opportunity to really think long and hard about securing our usuries. So let's say that the powers that be, whatever they are, the arguing elite, come in and the arguing elite decide that they're going to battle each other, just in a hypothetical world, right? Just in a fiction made up world. Let's pretend that the elite are going to come in and they're going to battle one another for the top space and place, and you are the chattel in between. And that chattel is subject, just like Ukraine residents, to war. And that your power could be shut off, your water could be shut off randomly. Now, that could happen naturally because of, well, let's say an earthquake or something that's happening, like is being drummed up right now. But a lot of that activity is also drilling It's oil seeking activity. It is electrical currents that are coming up due to mining activity, if you will, and I'll say that way. It's the harvesting of things, but it's affecting you, the people, because it's disturbing the ley lines, and the ley lines are gathering electrical energy at a low frequency that's moving all around the world right now. And you're going to see this. And I keep kind of warning you of this. I ask you, I beg you to follow along with Dutch and anywhere else that you have a feed that you can watch, the USGS, but they don't always report the things in real time. Last night I got the 7.7 alert, and it took probably 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to actually see that show up. That's because sometimes they delay it and then they downgrade it. Like in California, many times they would downgrade the actual thing that I could take a screenshot of, because if it went over a certain amount, then the actual state would have to pay. But if they downgrade it, the state won't have to pay. Now let's take that a step back so we understand what the grammar is really doing here and what Full:_Russell-J: Gould did. When he went in 1999 and changed everything over, the states had a certain amount of time to come back into and properly correct and sort of put their hand up and say, okay, I'm here, I'm back, I'll correct. We stop and correct over here in X state, and we come in under the Title IV flag. Well, not a single state did that. Not one. So technically, there are no states. And people will argue, oh, well, the Republic, it's the Republic. There are no states, and there is nothing trumping the grammar since 1999. So go back to my example of the feuding top few factions. If they're going to continue to ignore the fact that this was done, and they know it's been done, and they will not call him forward or let him come forward in a manner that you, the people, can see that in a mass exposure all at once, like on national television, because they cancel it, they get in the way of it, they play games with it, etc., then the majority of people won't take it seriously and they won't know. But they also won't know that they can go and they can change their usuries. And when they change their usuries, they buoy onto that system. So when the warring factions continue their gameplay in the fiction, they eventually will fight at one another, which affects everybody in between. But you might be a neutral party unaffected. So when I say change your usuries, this is what I'm talking about. There is nothing you've contracted to, which many people know, that you agreed to. You were told to sign on the dotted line, but you signed in necromancy, number one, but you signed in a manner that had you not genuinely with factual knowledge of the contract, and therefore not signing with the proper knowledge. I have cat fur on me. And so I'm telling you, hello, everybody. There is such an important thing that's happening right now. And it's playing out. And the person that I was going to have on tonight, who has decided not to come on tonight yet, I'm so sorry, is trying to put their strength behind their words, and I'll say that, for clarity, because the drops are interesting, deep correlations of the timelines that are playing out. Now, Sophia and I have been covering some of these upcoming events, the things that are happening, why they're happening, and it's leading toward June. It's leading toward mid-June and the end of June. And the person that was going to be with us tonight, who will come another time, was going to mention to you that June 16th is a really pivotal time. And June 16th was the day, apparently, that George Washington agreed to become the commander-in-chief, okay, and took that. Well, it was the same day, apparently, and this is not my research, I'm paraphrasing, that Donald Trump came down the big escalator in 2015 and it changed everything. And June 19th is a very powerful day too. But June 19th speaks to those timelines. It's a 3-day rescission thing. So if June 16th is a pivotal day in history, despite the fact there's hundreds of years apart, and this is a play that's playing out, what has happened at the end of June is that Fulkel and David hyphen Wincoln Miller died 5 years ago. And there's been timelines that have been set into place that actually might lead to the changeover toward an actual changeover. Whether you see it or not, the actual changeover behind the scenes might be more into what Full colon Russell hyphen J colon Gould put into place in the quantum for the people. And there is a timeline to that. There's a timeline changeover. I'm going to read some of these questions. Hold on just a second. It says, hi, Winifred. Question: with the current fake government, if you receive a claim of the life fiction status, would your Social Security payment stop before the right government commander is in place? Only if the fiction stops it. All Social Security is in the fiction because there's nothing happening in the quantum with the Social Security at this point. And the quantum has not yet been put into place as a government type of thing, so it's not put into place for yet for payout. That doesn't mean it's not there or backed with gold. It means it's just not established yet. But you get dual citizenship, so you would be able to continue your life while you have the usuries secured. So, hang on a second. So what I was going to cover tonight, and I apologize for gathering you on a Friday night when our guest wasn't exactly ready yet, and I just learned that today, so I'm very sorry. I planned on that, but better that all things come into the right timing and that information is more clear, so it's clear for you. So I'll try and kind of set this stage for a minute, and then we do have a guest. But going back to that fiction play out, let what you see happening still plays out. That does not change the fact that he did what he did in 1999. Everybody in the world knows it. Hoping en masse you don't know it, because then you don't take the more people do not take the stance to change their usuries and put themselves into a stop and correct, proper, neutral position. Right now, there's a lot of faction that is kind of rogue. And that rogueness, even though there's this churning talk of white hats and all that, have not stopped to correct, including all those wonderful sites that you go and listen to. Nobody that has a big name with tons of followers is stopping to correct and tell you, especially if they've been in the government or worked for the government, they are not telling you that this is factual and true. Some of it's because they're compartmentalized and they don't know. Some of it is because they don't want to tell you. And the other part that you might need to look into and research is, where's the money coming from? Who's backing all that? I know that one of the more popular streams out there has recently put out in a very generous offer to pay Tucker Carlson $400 million over the next several years to join up. That's a lot of money coming from one kind of independent organization. And that's wonderful if they generate that much money already. Fabulous. But that seems a little strange to me. It seems a little curious to me. And I did reach out to the head of that and promptly got cut off. Got an answer, but then the conversation was nullified. So, hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. What's happening to the people that don't have a claim They consider you dead and lost at sea. That's what's happening to you. That's all. They just consider you not there. So you're subject to whatever they want to do, however they want to do it. Now, if your life is such that you don't necessarily um, pay attention to what's going on, yes, you can live a perfectly fine life doing what you do. But if it comes down to it, if you really are looking for that change, I'm just telling you that the world is not telling you what happened. Historical fact. There is a different Federal Reserve system. It's called the Federal Reserve System. The IRS, as I told you in a previous stream, told someone directly that to Russell J. Gould that they don't accept money. They don't accept anything. They don't take money in. Of course they don't. They can't. All you do is donate. That's it. But hello, Ron. Ron Vrooman, guys. Pay attention in the chat. Ron Vrooman's here. He is a member of the Oregon Jural Assembly, and he's listening in after we've fought back and forth about quantum and republic rights and quantum and republic. And my goal is that people take into account and listen to what's going on, that they understand why they would need something and why it would be beneficial to them. You see, people like to argue the idea that someone wants to be a dictator in power. And they want action like they do in a regular mm, fiction voting system. But what people aren't understanding is this singular one man went and corrected the entire world's fraudulent system, step by step by step, under the proper way of doing it in mechanics through the postal system. And by doing that, he took over and became the comptroller of the banking. He took the Title IV flag so that the British Crown would not have it. And by doing so, you have been safeguarded. And you've additionally recently been safeguarded so that you wouldn't get microchipped. Now you want to take that one step further in case they decide to roll out something more challenging, let's say. You will have your usuries in place. And so your usuries safeguard you legally. and, and you can't make that up. So your usuries keep you in a position, in a place where you are choosing and you are the navigator of your own vessel. You have your own ship's papers. Everything is about transshipment, as I keep saying. It's about shipping lanes and gold. It is not about red and blue like you think. It's not about Popular Party. It's not about voting yet. It's not about that. But next week on Wednesday, when Russell comes, you will have your opportunity to ask him questions, and he has something he wants to share with you. So you can bring those questions and ask him, but I need you to kind of absorb into your marrow of your bone that this is not about voting systems. I asked him a long time ago in my interviews on Voice America. I said, what would happen if you were recognized and came forward, if the world knew you and you did a worldwide broadcast and suddenly the emperor's clothes were off and everyone knew? And he said in 72 hours it would all change. He said the current fiction government that's in place and the courts and everything else would stop, it would halt. You, the people, would be put back into a position of voting legally with claims for the people you truly choose to have under the proper corrected system that safeguards the people. It is, everyone would get a jubilee. Your houses would be paid off. I'm getting glitchiness here. And New technologies would be brought forward. Now, that sounds very much like something you're hearing on the other side of the fence, doesn't it? Similar to Homeland Security, for the security of the homeland is what he created, and then they took it and made Homeland Security and doubled down on people. He changed and corrected every port, every system, every government, everything. And all you need to do is recognize that and stand on it. If all the peoples did that, you would have an entirely different expression and world. But you haven't been able to hear the closure yet about the real truth behind the scenes of everything. He's given you lots and lots of drops through all this, but you haven't seen it all. Why haven't you seen it all? Because there's a gameplay at hand that's bigger and it's dirty game. So y'all need to be careful that when you stand up for what you think you're fighting for, you need to know the historical fact of what you're standing on. In fiction, you have nothing to stand on. In fact, if you start to exercise that, as some of the people here can vouch for, you will know in 2 seconds flat that they know. And they know who he is, and they know what's going on. This is so vital, folks. This is important. Is Russell going to be the one that announces the Jasara? Well, if Russell could be, he'd be the one that announces that he's backed everyone in gold. And in 2019, I was there speaking to him by phone about that. I was talking to him as he was working in the labs and creating gold before they tried to do nefarious things to him again and all the gold. With that, the gold was to be brought forward to Trump so he would backstop the country to stop the rollout of the nasty C word and all that people went through. That there would be no suffering, there would be no economic collapse, there would be no nothing because it was made by him by hand. And in that, he was able to do that for people, but they wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't even take his phone calls. I know because I'm the one that made those phone calls through people that are friends with Trump. Can we sit him down? Can we come together? Can we make that known? Why won't they acknowledge it? They won't. They wouldn't take it on. They wouldn't stop to correct to let it be so that the people wouldn't have to go through that. Now we can ask the question, what's God doing here? What is God actually making happen for people? I'm not God, so I can't answer that question, but it begs a question, what's going on? The bigger question is, why are people suffering when it's been said that quantum claimants are also actually backed by a real gold bar that Russell made, a bond of actual gold? In other words, you're alive and living, you're noticed, you're not lost and dead at sea. And Miss Opal's, her nickname is Moo, like ancient Lemuria, Moo. She's very knowing. She's purring, she's here. She's in on this. She up long before I got on. She was here waiting at the computer. So guys, you're writing to me, you're saying a lot of things here. I'm kind of on a trail, I'm sorry. I'm a little animated after such an effed up week that I've experienced in all this, and um I want to bring you something that you can really take and stand on, that he created and has created gold. Nisara Jasara, written in fiction grammar, is fiction. Do you understand? It's fiction backed by fraudulent banking, fiction people, fraudulent everything. So even if it comes as a payday for you, unless it's corrected somehow, it's fiction. How does that affect you? What does that mean? He tried to explain this to you on Mel Carmine's show recently, and Mel cut him off. He didn't let him finish. And that's not really the fault of Mel. Mel just didn't know better yet. He didn't understand what was going on. So he added his narrative over it. But what Russell was trying to imply and share is the knowledge he has when those people at the top of the RV and all that come to him. Did you hear me? When all the people at the top of the RV come to him. Let me say it again. When the top people of the RV come to him to get him to sign off on that for the authorizations, he has to stand down the military that come to speak to him about that and ask what they're doing when they know better. Fiction in and fiction out is right, Jamal. They are keeping you in an illusory system to keep playing the loop over and over and over again like a replay. And that fiction replay. No, well, how about this, RK? If you have a claim, if we all have a claim, and we can stop this quickly, because we have to call him forward. It's just the protocol of what needs to take place. I'm trying to ring the bells to call him forward so you guys can understand. I'm not here about selling claims. I'm here to tell you here's a tool, use this tool, and then call him forward. It doesn't take but 2 hours to figure out how to learn the grammar. Come on. Like, if you want to learn about the RV, you spend freaking every day learning about the RV. Everybody's on board listening to different people talking about something that's never happened yet. And he keeps saying they're going to kick the can down the road. They're going to fight with one another. Hey, I'm all for you know, wonderful return on investment. I'm all for hey, let's make this a great win-win situation for everybody. But he already came to the table with gold and they wouldn't take it. They rejected it and carried on while thousands, millions of people died. Hello? Okay, so back to William Kotel for just a minute before I get all crazy blonde on you right now. William Kotel, after that show, guess what he got in the mail? Okay, I'll give you a second to guess. Let me say love you. He got the return of his registered receipt that they finally took in his paperwork, signed by Biden. What's that? What? But you know what? That still means nothing. It means nothing because none of it's in grammar. If we took William Kotel's, we should do this as an experiment. If we took William Kotel's paperwork and we went through it, you would see how it's written in fiction grammar. That's not his fault. That's just showing you this system. And then he were able to refile that in parse syntax grammar, you'd see something else happen. So how do we get to people who aren't awake yet? Well, unfortunately, they're a little late to the party and they may have to wake up the hard way. But then again, there's that 100th monkey theory. And when that happens, many people might wake up at once. Other things may take place that line up. And that's why I wanted the lady to come tonight to share with you her correlations on the timelines, because the timelines that she's discovering are magnificent. And they speak to this. They speak to what's really happening over the years. It's amazing. Russell J. Gould knows so many more things than he has shared. He has done so many things in the world beyond any other person. He's so far ahead of them. He's sitting here bored, waiting for people to catch up. Like, come on, guys. But the protocol is you have to pull him forward. You have to bring him first. You see? It's not something that you can simply say, "Oh, well, we want it all to change and stop debating. Stand up. Go get your claim, stand on your claim, change your usuries, get yourself into a neutral position." Neutral. That's what I'm telling you. Neutral position. Cooperate, not compete. Cooperate. This is a one-room schoolhouse with a lot of different soul levels to it. But if you brought Russell forward, then the cabal people wouldn't be able to continue their fraudulent banking and all of their trafficking, which is transshipment. It's shipment. Now, somebody's trying to get me to interview some fella, and I reached out to him, and he hasn't answered because maybe he doesn't take it seriously, or maybe he just doesn't want the truth. But one way or the other, he's up there fighting corruption. He's fighting it in New Hampshire because that's the hub of everything, apparently. And okay, but hey, guys, it's been corrected on contract. People need to understand that. When they understand that, that correction is in your hands should you want to. Okay? So something is moving here. We're rattling a cage while they're rattling the earth. And Mother Nature has a right to rattle us all together in one if she wants to. So pay attention to that because it is rattling. These 7.7s are only going to get greater. It's going to move out and around these craton edges and it's going to build in clusters, right? So there's a lot of unrest underneath people right now, and it will come all the way through the country, up the East Coast, everywhere. It's going to go around the world now with that big 7.7. I've been studying this for years and years. I've been at this since, golly, 2001, 2003. The harmonic convergence was a real changing point back when. It really set the stage for now or later. So that harmonic convergence was almost a loss at that time in history for us. But there were very dedicated, highly evolved spiritual beings on this planet that helped lay down the foundation of what we have today that we can work with. And if we are given an opportunity to work with a correction that's been made for the betterment of all, it's worth taking note of and looking at. And for those of you who are in this chat right now that have used the grammar, raise your hand. Let people know it's real. Let people know this isn't some kind of, well, that sounds like a really cool thing, but they say, oh, it's just a white hat operation over there that's delaying everything. Why would you delay everything to put people through suffering when it's already done? When it doesn't have to be at all anymore? That doesn't make any sense, folks. So it's time to kind of take the plugs out of our ears and go, wait a minute. You mean this can end? Yeah, it can end in your now space, which is what he captured. And we're going to talk about next week. That now space has authorization, and the fiction cannot enter the now space on or off planet. Think about that. I'm giving you a big drop here. Fiction cannot enter the now space on or off planet. If all the RV people come to him for authorization, what is that telling you? He needs a chance to come and give a world address. You need to get a claim of the life to bring him forward, and you need to begin setting up your amicuses, and we, the people, need to file in together and call him forward. You see, the problem is might makes right at the current moment. If we wanted to bring him forward and shove him into that position, the guns and the clubs would come out and stop that from happening. Literally. There needs to be a protective force big enough that he can actually come forward. He is that guy. I tell you, I wouldn't waste my time doing this. I promise you. I'm not wasting it with you, but I'm saying to you, over all this time I've done this, I would not spend my time doing this if I didn't believe or find fact in what was being said. I wouldn't come back to it again and again and again. But I am living it, telling it to you, okay? He has so many things. Yes, we need numbers, we need knowledge, most of all. Knowledge. People shiver when they start seeing quantum grammar show up because they know they're going to be cornered and they can't do anything about it at that point. When we, the people that have the right heart, come into play with the correction, then that correction stands. I think the people in this building are hearing me and they're cranky. I probably have my office tapped. Um, anyway, point is, I'm trying to tell you seriously, um, I don't do this for my well-being because it puts me in some scary spaces. I'm telling you to wake up and shake your neighbor and shake your family, even if your family won't listen. Tell somebody that's listening because even if you want to argue the republic, coming back to the republic, the republic, the republic, it's not going to stand. I told you Saint Germain came to me and spoke to me. I tell you on my life that happened. And Saint Germain said to me, the volition was correct of this man. We'll see if the people are wise enough to take it, if they're ready. So if they roll out martial law, which is a bunch of horse crap, because you're already in martial law, it's currently in martial law. So if they roll it out and flex muscles and start dictating to you mandates, which are fiction, what are you going to do? It's not necessary, is what I'm telling you. Oh, it's necessary so we can get all the bad guys. How long is that narrative going to go on? How long are you going to allow children to be taken and placed in trucks and moved around the country to be used? Get a claim of the life. fortheclaimofthelife.com. Literally, spell those words out. fortheclaimofthelife.com. It's a membership now. It's been changed. It's a membership. So you get to learn grammar at the same time you get a claim of the life. How about that? That's kind of cool. You're not buying a claim of the life, you're buying a membership. So you can learn the grammar, have an education, and stand on that. That's better. That's better for us. The courts are closed legally. Bull Colin Russell J. Colin Gould is, he is the Supreme Court Justice. He is that. He is the federal postmaster. He is the Postmaster General of planet Earth, not US, planet Earth. So, in taking that knowledge and the knowledge that he's planted, if we are responsible with the technology, and it's called technology for a reason, it's powerful. You start moving into the quantum and start moving into the now space, you're moving, since there's no time left, you're moving in space, if you will, and things can rearrange themselves. If you take that, in my opinion, this is Winifred's opinion, you take that coupled with prayer, with a sincere in volition to assist people. Now you have a winning formula toward change. But without the correct proper tools, you're going to run headlong into a very, very derelict system that is so hell-bent on staying in place, they will not tell you so that you won't have a fit and freak out and say, why didn't you tell us? Well, you're being told now, so you can do something about it. Okay? Public forums, would be great. I tried to do that at the Truth Tour, but isn't it interesting that they attacked him? That kind of sucked. I got to tell you, that was a shocker and a half on my end. I was so mortified at that. I couldn't even believe it. And I've never really spoken about it, but it's ridiculous. If they had, if they had instead let the people who came ask the questions. He dropped so many drops in that talk. He told you where you start in your own towns. He told you what happens. He told you so many things there that you could use, and it went right over their head because they don't have knowledge and they don't want to hear it. Why don't they want to hear it? Ask that question. Why don't they want to hear it? Why don't they want to know? The venues change. So get your claim, step back into the venue. There's teachers there. You can get a tutor there. You can listen in on the Patreon calls where he comes and speaks. You can get in on that. Okay. So go to lastflagstanding.com or fortheclaimofthelife.com. Maybe somebody can type that in there. Fortheclaimofthelife.com and Last Flag Standing. I promise you, just in case anybody's wondering, nobody pays me to do this. I am acting independently for the betterment of the people, and I always have. I pay for my own radio shows. I put up my own stuff. I don't get paid for any of this. Okay? This is my time, my dedication to humanity, to you. So we have an opportunity. And I brought Mark on the other night. Remember Mark? He was kind of cool. He had worked with David Wynn Miller in the day, and now he's trying to put people together. He seems like an open-minded individual. He's the kind of guy that has both sides of the knowledge that could bring that forward and help catalyze people, right? So it's not really far away from you. We're waiting for everything to happen around us. You're co-creating. And what you create in the Parse syntax grammar, for example, is a fact. And when you begin to speak the fact, you don't have to speak it all the time, but like when I use it in the quantum healing meditations, people can feel how profound that is. They can feel the energy. But when you begin to write the fact, now the fact is the same forward and back. It's a mathematical equation that's exact. So you can use that. Yeah, I don't trust the tour speakers entirely either. Everybody's worried about witchcraft. What in the heck? I mean, how about we focus on love, eh? Or solutions. How about that? Solutions have been placed under everybody's nose, but they don't want to hear it because they're addicted, in my opinion, as a healer, they're addicted to the sensationalism of a polarized commentary. They don't want to take responsibility individual by individual. They want to see a fight. I believe that now. They only want to see a fight. And they want to take all this energy and this anxiety and this angst, and they want to fight somebody. But when you have to take that back and transmute that within yourself, now you're taking 100% responsibility back for the world that you're witnessing and what you're doing. That's where we're at. You don't like seeing transshipment of people and humans? You don't like seeing rogue governments and things that are happening? Hey, my plants died the other day. Why'd they die? Not because a UFO flew over, because the chemtrails put something in the air that dehydrated the air. And they turned from green to completely white. Just leached it out of them. How does that happen? Everyone's predicting a famine. They're predicting all this other stuff. Why would they predict that? I mean, let's be honest here. Let's start thinking about what's being said instead of just going along with it. Why are they predicting this? They have models upon models. They have all the military models that keep saying, we're going to lose hundreds of millions of people in the next few years. Why? Why does that need to happen? Because you're letting it happen. That's what I'm going to say. You're letting it happen. And for all the pussies out there, no pun intended, who won't stand up for what they're saying, you have work to do. Because other people are literally putting their life on the line for you. So it's time to kind of put on the big man pants and come to the forefront and get it done. This isn't a joke, guys. Time is ticking, and there are timelines that are running. Are you going to get it in time is the question. You don't believe me? Get the technology, learn the stuff, and use it. You'll find out for yourself. You'll know yourself. It's not something that I'm just telling you. It's not hard if you don't make it hard. When you're willing to open your heart and say, please, God, show me the truth for me, you will come to understand things on a level that is, in this case, pretty trippy for a lot of people when you can start moving into the quantum. But it's, no, Mark Krishan is a traitor. Mark Krishan is in deep trouble. And whoever is starting the narrative that he's in control is wrong, just flat out wrong. Okay. So there are a lot of players out there that they plant, and they plant the players so they distract the people so they won't know and they'll be confused. I'm going to say this. When you come to this channel, when you come into my hosting room, you are not confused. We are clear here, and we will and help with a helping toward whatever it is we can help with. One of those things is go get the data yourself, find the knowledge, and use the knowledge. So we stand here, I stand here with the volition of love for humankind. And I'm firm tonight because I've had a very, very stressful and ridiculous week based on immature souls that aren't pulling their end. Let's put it that way. And that's happening in all directions, and it's just crazy. So now I want to invite in Sofia again, because she's going to explain maybe why I had such a week that would turn me gray otherwise. So please welcome back Sofia, and know that I'm telling you this in love, by the way. I'm not saying this to be stinky, just that seriously, it's not there's no argument left. So stop screwing around with argument and get with your homework. Like, it's time. Welcome, Sofia. You've never seen me like that, have you? Woo! Yes, I'm on one tonight.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell me why I'm a little crazy, Sofia. Tell me what's going on.
I've noticed that this light above me is reflecting off my glasses, but meanwhile, I can't see the screen.
Oh, it's okay. We don't care. We're listening to what you have to say.
Well, we talked about the fact that Jupiter made its ingress from Aries into Taurus. And in the video that I did on that, which is on my website, my YouTube channel, I talk about how when Jupiter moved to that 0 degrees of Taurus, it's making a square to Pluto retrograde at 0 degrees Aquarius. And so squares, which are a 90-degree angle between the luminary bodies, are opportunities. They're opportunities for breakthroughs in consciousness. And if the opportunity is missed, if you turn your back on it, if you shut the door on it, then you will experience a breakdown in consciousness. So when you're experiencing the breakdown in consciousness, you can look to, well, what are the shadow aspects of Taurus? What are the shadow aspects of Aquarius? Because those are the signs involved. What are the shadow aspects of Sagittarius? Because that's what Jupiter rules. What are the shadow aspects of Pluto? Because, of Scorpio, because that's what Pluto rules. But if we just keep it simple, let's just keep it to Taurus and Aquarius. What we can see here in Taurus, people get stuck in a rut. And with this square to Aquarius, and particularly because Mercury is in Taurus, Mercury, the cosmic messenger, the ruler of Gemini, an air sign, Aquarius, an air sign. These are mental realm frequencies. What people are getting stuck in the rut of are all of these mind control programs that they don't understand are still running their lives. They think that they're awake and aware, and they haven't figured out that whenever they get triggered, that these mind control programs start running them again. So you see, Pluto is all about empowerment. Pluto and Aquarius is step into the greatness of who you are as a divine being, as a multi-dimensional self that is sovereign. And so talk about putting on your big girl panties. Yeah. And now Jupiter is in Taurus, which is the master class of embodiment. And so what's happening is people are being called into their greatness, and they're down because they've been programmed for so long that they have no power, that they're sinners, uh, and that they're enslaved. And so you're going to start seeing the shadow side. Shadow side of Aquarius is people talk a big game, but they don't play the big game, right? They're big talkers, but they don't step up to the plate. So this square between Jupiter in Taurus and Pluto in Aquarius is manifesting in all of this kooky behavior that you're seeing. And let me tell you, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, great. This
Because,
week is the tip of the iceberg.
well,
Holy
and I'll tell
cow.
you why. Because tomorrow, Mars, who is the sacred masculine, standing at 29 degrees of Cancer. So that's a mastery point of emotional safety and security, is crossing the threshold into 0 degrees of Leo. When Mars moves into 0 degrees of Leo, he's standing across the sky from Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Now, with this opposition in the mundane world, they say, oh, there's a lot of tension there. And what they're doing is they're forming a T-square to Jupiter up in Taurus. In mundane astrology, a T-square is known as the most intense and volatile aspect.
Uh-oh. So how do we overcome that?
Well, so everything is a choice.
Love it.
Everything is a choice. So you can allow yourself to be run by your shadow self, or you can feel you're getting triggered and you can look into what the truth of that trigger is all about. Jupiter, truth in Taurus. What am I embodying here? Because when you have a T square, what happens along the top of the T, which is that opposition, those frequencies, Mars, the sacred masculine, Pluto, empowerment, they're blending together to create something new up here at a higher frequency. But with the T square, it's showing you where the something new is. It's at the stem, at the root of that stem of the T. Those frequencies are going to Jupiter in Taurus. And so I mentioned to you that the cosmic guru is Jupiter is calling on your inner guru.
You're having like this total electrical lightning storm going on. That's the light that's flashing on you.
Those are Aquarian energies. You people have to get this. Boom, like a flash of lightning is
I
struck.
saw that.
Yeah. So you've got to look at what's going on with your inner masculine. Is your inner masculine balanced? Is your inner masculine empowered? And empowered in that lion heart wisdom that I talk about, where you're out of that predator prey consciousness and you can be assertive without being aggressive. And how are you embodying that field of consciousness? And of course, today's the new moon in Taurus at 28 degrees. And so the new moon is all about planting new seeds of consciousness. What better seeds of consciousness to plant right now than the consciousness around this Taurus and Jupiter square to Pluto and Aquarius. And then tomorrow and into Sunday, this T square of Mars standing across the sky from Pluto and them thrusting their energies up there to Jupiter to know the truth of who you are. Are you being triggered in a way that you are acting out and becoming aggressive? And you want to know what the shadow side of Leo is, which is where Mars is going to be standing? The shadow side of Leo is, you remember the Will and Grace show? How
Yeah.
Karen and Jack would always snigger when somebody would have something unfortunate happen to them. They would think that was the funniest stuff. That's Leo in the shadow. When you
Yeah. Oh,
when
hello. I witnessed that this week. Oh, hee hee hee, ha ha ha. Okay. You know what?
yeah,
The bigger play and the bigger picture is we have an opportunity here, is what you're trying to say. There's
yes,
the opportunity to embody the best of us and cooperate with one another to do that and not sit there and do what you just said, where we go, "Ee, hee, hee, look what I'm going to get. Look
right,
what I'm going to get away with or have."
right.
It's not about that. It's about, in my world, cooperation toward an end goal,
Yeah.
eventually, a true cooperation.
Yes, yes. And let me tell you another expression of Leo in the shadow. I'm sure you've seen this. Do you know who you're talking to? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
That's Leo in the shadow.
Well, okay, let's break that down from the healer perspective for a minute.
Yeah.
That's just the resistance, and that's similar to the facade that people are running up against in the fiction system, right?
Mhm.
So that's what they're gonna do, is they're gonna posture back and say, "What are you talking about? That's
Right,
crazy. That's just that stuff. Who is that guy?" They're going to kind of, gaslight and glaze you over in that posturing stance to make you doubt.
right.
But when you stand on the fact, is what I'm telling people, when you stand on that fact and you know, they can't do that to you
Mhm.
because you know. No, it's no different than me telling you to go have an experience with God. But if Jesus came down in front of you and you had an experience with God, nobody anywhere on the planet is going to rise
Right,
because you know the experience.
right,
What
right,
Russell is, that's what Russell's done. Experience,
right.
flat out. Say otherwise.
So so let me tell you that this Mars at 0 Leo standing across the sky of Pluto and Aquarius, and that T square to Jupiter and Taurus is a perfect platform for Russell as an embodiment of the sacred masculine, who's all about the empowerment of the quantum to speak to people so that they can embody this truth.
Well, next week he'll speak to people. He'll come on Wednesday and you all can speak back to him. How about that? You can ask him, but when you put in questions too fast, we might lose you. So we have to, maybe we'll have to, I don't know if we can slow it down in this. We'll try. But that's awesome because, Sophia, the people need to be heard. And how the people are heard is we've always had forums right from the very beginning of time. We've had forums.
Right,
People need
right,
to gather in a forum and ask questions. And I believe that, you know, it's one thing to see a documentary or hear something. It's another thing to be able to really interact and have that answer come up for you so that you're there in the presence. Because I believe something else too. I believe there's a radiant energy. The radiation comes also from the presence of him in the knowledge. I know because I've sat with him. I've been
right,
there, and it's like, wow, this being, as anybody can attest who's been to the workshops and stuff, this being is just totally different. This is like a whole nother animal right here. This is somebody that's done what no other human on planet Earth has done. Not one. There's nobody else
right.
that's done what he's done
Yep,
peacefully
yep,
on paper without a war.
yep, yep. And of course, Jupiter energies are all about the knowledge.
That's right. That's right. So if we work together, for example, people can learn together. They can learn in groups. They can learn in the venue. They can learn in ways that support one another and come into their community
Mhm.
gathering. right? Their
Right.
community. So everybody, here's a little thing for you, and I'll let you continue, Sophia, but I just want to say this. Tomorrow, wherever you all live, go down to your post office and your city hall and run around your town and look and see what's flying on top of the flag standard there. What is it? Is it a bird? Is it wings up, wings down? Is it a round ball? Just see. Just look around and see what you see. Are there yellow fringe flags all around anywhere, somewhere public that you go to? Because that's advertising. And if you don't know what that means, you need to go back to Piercing Dynasty and watch that movie to understand. You're being told. The irony is the fiction's not hiding from you. They're just dumbing you down in distractive narratives so that you don't pay attention and you don't have time and energy and money to correct. Now, somebody asked in here, how do they pay for that? Well, Claim of the Lives aren't for sale anymore. They are part of a membership. How do you do that? Well, here's what I would propose. And maybe people can take this and run with it in their local communities. Just like there's food banks and there's help and there's whatever, if somebody has money and they want to start a scholarship fund for those that really genuinely are in need but have the will and the desire, then maybe those people can be sponsored or have scholarships to do that. That would be cool. Just an idea.
Yeah.
To begin with the interviews, you can go back to here, and there's a whole playlist I've made on makinglifebrighter.com on YouTube. So if you go back and watch the interviews I've done, you see all the movies, it'll start to just seep into you. And then you'll start to get a clue of what's going on, and you pay attention some more, you'll learn as we go. So it's so in your face, it's frightening when you realize it. It's a little bit arresting, but understand this. Every soul, even the ones that are resistant, and I'll say that lovingly, the ones that are resistant to the change, the ones that aren't telling you, the ones that want to keep this old system in place, they're still brilliant souls too. Their heart is closed. They're not doing better. So we have to pray for them too and put light their way, because that's where we really have to do the heavy lifting. And we can maneuver on contract and in groups, but on contract. No, it's going to take guns. This is going to be a war. Do you want a war? I don't want a war. I'd rather be on contract with you. I'll share my food and water with you as long as you don't lie to me. You lie to me once and you're done. That's it. One strike rule here, not three. Go ahead, Sophia. I'm ripe tonight.
Yeah, I know. Listen, because I see a lot of people in the chat talking about, that they're just getting into it and they don't, what do they do with the claim of the life? How do they get the knowledge? How do they learn about the syntax? And so what I would say in terms of this T-square that I'm talking about, Mars in Leo, across the sky from Pluto and Aquarius, making that T-square to Jupiter and Taurus. Dedicate this weekend, and if you've got Monday off, Monday too, dedicate these 3 days to doing your deep dive, going in and watching all of the documentaries, listening to all of the interviews on Winifred's radio show. That's what I did when I met her at the Truth Tour event in Clearwater and heard this for the first time. I went home and just did a deep dive, immersed myself in it. And I promise you, if it makes no sense to you, keep listening, because your multidimensional field is being realigned to the truth and the frequency of what's being shared. And then you're going to start realizing, oh, I'm understanding this. I'm getting this. This is becoming clearer and clearer. And then go to fortheclaimofthelife.com and read everything and take the steps that you're encouraged to take. But this is the best weekend ever to support you in those endeavors so that you can have the most expansive experience of clarity around the knowledge and empowerment around the knowledge that you can possibly have.
That is interesting. The timing is really unique. I mean, even for the person that was supposed to be here tonight with the drops and not being here and what you're telling us and what you're sharing. And, you know, I don't normally come across this way, but I I have an abundance of energy that's
Yeah,
coming through, and
yeah,
so, it's true, the pen is mightier than the sword, but the heart is mightier than the pen. So set your heart
right.
intention, your volition, because intention means well, no intention technically, but your volition to open your heart, to be open, will help you absorb it faster
Yes.
instead of resisting. Well, I don't get it. I don't understand. What about this? Just listen. Just like what I did when I first met him, I'll tell you some personal stories, is I met him and then I went away and I tried to absorb it because I had to do the interviews. And what I did was I ended up putting on things that had him speaking, and I played them all throughout the night, and I slept listening to it, and I still do that. I really do, because it changes the perspective. Just like you put on 432 hertz music, I put on my own interviews with Russell, and I put on my own the movies with Russell, and I listen to him speak. I feel like a bubble comes over me sometimes, like a I don't wanna sound campy and say a protective bubble, but I say it's just a bubble of, surety of knowledge, right?
Mm.
And I have a lot to learn. I'm not saying that I'm any wizard. I've been busy doing this and making it through this journey, being this person on this journey, sharing with you, not having all the time in the world to be in the venue like the other people have been. So I have catching up to do too, and I'm here with you, I'm at it. So let's do this. I appreciate your sharing this. What else can you tell us that's pertinent to right now for people?
So that move of Mars tomorrow from 29 degrees of Cancer, right? That's mastery over your emotional self, where your emotions are not the horses running away from you. You've reined them in and you've got control over them. Moving into 0 degrees of Leo. This is huge because Leo is about the compassionate heart space.
Huh.
This is the space that opens up and broadcasts the truth of who you are to everyone within your, reality, into the collective consciousness of humanity. And I believe that if enough people focus on this knowledge this weekend and it's being broadcast into the collective consciousness of humanity, which is what the Aquarian energies are across the sky from that compassionate heart space, then that truth of Jupiter and Taurus, that our focus can be the 100th monkey, where now people are waking up and they're ready to receive this without struggling against it and have this thirst for wanting more. And that there can even be an opening for Russell to be able to step forward and have more access to the people, to speak to the people, because we've got the power and it's right here in our compassionate heart space.
That's right. And we're being supported in that. Now, Janice Wilkerson asks, I asked the postal representative the answer, nothing. It's just a ball. Okay, so that's true. What the people aren't going to tell you that, specialist office people. Okay, but here's the gig, Janice. Here's a secret. When you become a postmaster, which is what happens when you get this claim of the live life, and you need to go into the post office, there may be a time that you need to take some documents in and sign them in to what's called the firm book. That's under lock and key in the back. You'll soon realize who you are when they have to let you in and escort you there so that you can do your due diligence as a postmaster for your documentation and back. And there's nobody that's going to tell you it's a ball because they have to. Their higher ups don't want the people on the front line, the employees, knowing. And if it gets out, like the ones here who are bucking me, then they get a little chagrined at first, but they eventually come over the line and they're they're friendly, and then maybe they need some knowledge too. It's because the higher ups for all the people on the front line threaten to fire their employees and people because they don't want that disruptor, right? And so if people start asking questions on the front line, well, wait a minute, they just deem you as crazy like they did to me at the bank. Oh, you're a terrorist. I am? Look, I seem neutral here. How come you're not going to sign the bottom of this paperwork? Because you're signing and you know that would be perjury, and you are then liable for this fiction grammar on this page right here. The contract you're trying to tell me is a legal contract with you, which we both know is not. But you have to take that unsigned and fax it back into your bank heads that are still operating in fiction when they should be stopping and correcting and bringing forth a gold-backed system long ago, but they refuse to accept it, and they refuse to tell the people. I don't know. I mean, I've been pretty neutral and loving about this the whole time, but if I were new to this game and I got to hear one narrative only the whole time and came along to knowledge that had been kept from me, I'd say, "Hey, what's up? Like, what's going on?" So just so you know, the front line is what you're gonna run into resistance with, because the people that hire those people are managers of those people, and then the higher ups from that, they will fire the managers if the managers don't control their frontline people. But eventually everybody has to comply, and sometimes it's just simpler. Some people are cooperative and some are not. Doesn't matter. It'll all change one day, but it's not there yet. So, um, look, Oregon. I talked about Ron Vrooman earlier in here. Maybe Ron isn't here anymore, but um, Oregon General Assembly, they're they're in it, man. They're in it, and both sides of this fence. They're looking at it now, and we have the possibility of setting the stage for this change to take place and sweep across the nation in Oregon first. So pay attention, because that's possible. And you guys want your autonomy, you have it. You're not waiting for someone to get into office to have it, is what I'm trying to tell you. You have it. But right now, if you're not corrected in it, then you don't have it. You don't realize what you have. And the fact is, Anna von Rice and all these other people, Anna's not even a judge. She's going to be in a lot of trouble. She's going to get a lot of people in trouble. There's nothing to stand on there. The fact is, and you take it, you use it, and then come back and tell everybody what happened, because you'll see, especially at your bank. See. Now, okay, let's talk for a second about the RV and Nasera Jacera. Let's see. Hang on a second. Excuse me, just one second. Okay. All right. So, alrighty. So let's talk about the RV for a second. Let's just say hypothetically that Full Colon Russell hyphen J Colon Gould is, in fact, that guy. And the guy that the Dragon families and everybody else has to go and get authorization from. What if that were the case? What if he treated with 82 countries and actually they already know who he is? What of all that timing and the timelines and everything else that's running behind the scenes? Could it all be working together? Maybe, but it seems like a lot of people are suffering in the meantime. There's a lot of promises being made out of things that are going to happen next week and this week and next week and this week and that next day and all that stuff, when he keeps saying, it's already done, folks. It's already done. It's already done. I already gold backed you. It's done. You're supposed to have a $10 million bond to you in gold. Why wait? What are you waiting for? So, and the Sarah Jazera is all a fiction play-out game. It's a game of how the fiction continues to argue in the fiction. It was actually corrected in quantum grammar, as was your Bill of Rights. and put into a position of and framework for the quantum and the coming quantum as you want to see it in a new way of interacting among ourselves in the future time. Like they said, I think I was like 23 years old when I came to understand that we would come to a place within my lifetime where there wouldn't be elections anymore, and there would be like, say, holographic voting systems, or there would be you could vote from a position where you didn't have to go in to do something if you had that, but it wouldn't be the same thing with like a president. So people ask, would Russell be the president? I think initially speaking, he would hold the role of the commander in chief and then bring it back to the people, but it would be in a corrected fashion that would be mechanically fair and sound by the rules that were supposed to have been applied all along that never were. Let's put it that way. And there's a check and balance system to that. So this time is here. It's the time that's coming, and your focus on that time coming helps factor that into what's happening. So in other words, if you're distracted and all over the place and you're not taking control of your own usuries, then anyone can come along and take control of you and your usuries and your kids. How about the lady in Texas that we talked about when Sofia and I first talked? They tried to take her child, her newborn baby. They did take her newborn baby from her. She has no recourse to that because the child's not docked on a system. It's considered dead and lost at sea because she signed on that. It's done. Like, they took the child, they beat up the father, stole his keys, went into the house, and absconded with the baby. Who does that? Who are the people that do that? That's even more freaky, right? So this transshipment that's rogue needs to stop. And the transshipment that does have to happen is your own ship's papers, your own navigation, and a rewriting of the ship as a whole in the sea lane that you create. So you get your own sea lane and you get to navigate your sea lane. And then you can contract with other people in your sea lane, and it becomes very loving and very fair. I don't know what else to say. Who else has a question? Sounds like a long process? Not anymore. Grace, I'll tell you what, when I first came in to interview Russell, there was no venue, there was no nothing. There was nothing. Now there's something. And it's coming along in a way that people like Sofia can come along a couple months ago and come to the place that she's come to that fast. And then some. So, yeah, totally. So the more you raise your frequency, the easier this is to see, and you will find out what this person has done. It's just mind-boggling what he's done. It really is. And it's humbling. It's really humbling. So people need to understand that this isn't a political fight. There's nothing political about this. It's been a safeguard measure to correct what was not correct. And all the treaties have been made, all the things have been done. You're just not being given closure on them. So you mean to tell me we have to live and listen to ad nauseum all the nonsense on all your TV channels instead of having free energy, free healthcare, med beds, whatever, all the different things, good food again, et cetera, while everybody decides who should be in office so we can watch somebody else's parade and show while we listen to their stupid narratives that they put out when it's already corrected. Agreed. My name is Dee. Agreed. So I just want to say, I apologize to you if my energy's been strong tonight, but it was probably the best way to express it. I don't drink alcohol. I've never done drugs. I'm not unclear. Okay. But I am bursting in work this week, and it's just really silly and unnecessary. How about we take to the forefront Wednesday? Phil Colin Russell J. Colin Gould is going to come forward to speak to you, the people, and you can bring your questions. So it gives you more impetus to do what Sofia said and deep dive this weekend so that you have some intelligent questions that you can ask and see if it settles you, if it gives you a sense and a feeling of surety. You have a surety bond for live life claimants on you that declares you are alive and they have to recognize it. You're no longer dead and lost at sea. You're no longer someone that can be sold on their marketplace. That's I mean, in a way, that's fragmenting your field of energy when that happens because it's a degradation to your soul contract. That's how I see it from quantum healing, that you get to almost gather your pieces again and pull them back into who you are and put them into alignment to structure that which is better. And we're moving through that. At the same time, we're experiencing these giant CMEs from the solar flares from the sun, and we're going to have upheavals on Earth. We're going to have to work together from the things that we do. We're going to have Earth disturbances that are going to give the people that are addicted to transshipment. Yeah, I know. That's the guy I reached out to, Suzanne. That's the guy, but he won't answer me. So that's, when we have an upheaval, everybody has to look at the upheaval and deal with it, and then they can run around behind as a distraction again. So pay attention to that. I've watched it for over 10 years now. I've been very accurate in what I've seen along the way and what I've come to know. This is a time when you just kind of have to be ready. You're on the ball court, right? You're ready for whatever's coming, but you have to have a hand for your neighbor, keep everybody straight, and get your own thing straight. And just be prepared. It's a time when the earth is going to express as well somehow or another, whether she's poked and prodded or if it's natural. So I peacefully step off the pulpit tonight. Opal's left the room. She's like, I'm out of here, Mom. I've had enough. So
I would like to real quickly acknowledge RK and his message of it takes patience. And I love that he said that, because if I can take a second, with those T-square energies, if you're meeting them from your shadow side, you're going to experience a lot of stubbornness and a lot of inflexibility coming up within you. But if you're meeting it with your enlightened self, then you are going to be incredibly patient and you're going to be ready to commit to a long-term cause. And that's what people understand. I think that they want a quick fix to all of this. They were promised a quick fix from 20 to 21 to 22, and now we're in 23. And it's like, well, how come this hasn't been fixed? This is like taking the Titanic and trying to turn it around. You can't turn the Titanic on a dime. So I love what RK said about patience. And if you meet these energies this weekend from your enlightened self, you will embody a lot of patience so that you can go forward from the proper standing to deal with everything that's coming at you in this realm.
That's right. That's right. Think about it. If they did shut off the electricity, wouldn't it be cool if yours was still on by military decree? That can happen. Just saying. You don't know that yet, but it can. I wonder if Louis Herms knows that. I wonder if he can get his people to make sure his lights are still on. I don't know. Guess we'll have to ask him. But I'm just letting you know that there's things that have been done on your behalf for you. And you can go eyes closed or you can go eyes open to have seriously, peacefully, because remember, the other side of this wants to keep the narrative going and keep you enervated and addicted to that narrative and addicted to stress. oh my gosh, I have to come and listen. I have to listen. This is why I've never done a show every single day. I just want you to know. I love speaking to you. I love this forum right here. But you need time to absorb what's being said. I don't do shows so that they're like something to talk about that day. I don't do anything like that in my life. Honestly, I don't. I would rather do a show that lasts the test of time that you can go back to and reference and actually take something from, and you go back and reference it again. This is this is not supposed to be sensationalism. This is true solution to whatever can be. So I hope that you find that in it and you can walk with that, refer back. It's like a little library. So take that and roll with it. And that's why you don't see me every day on here, because I don't want to be the distraction to you. I want to be the help to you, not the distraction. But listen to what I'm saying after being on the Truth Tour and other things. I love all souls, but some people are misguided and some people are just in a space where their soul learning and their other things are keeping them from maybe seeing the bigger picture yet. But if you see the bigger picture, stop and correct and do something with it, because it'll only expedite your process. It's like getting on the moving walkway as opposed to getting on the long staircase, right? So, because they're forceful and there's military in front of that. There's military in front of it that won't let him in the door. If he has the right protection, yes, he can do that. But he needs some serious protection to do that. That's what that takes. People don't understand that, but it's complicated. But just sit with it for a bit. That's a good question. Maybe we can ask him next week. How's that? Yes, there's both. There's both, but they're compartmentalized. William Cotel might be an example of that. He's a good military person, but he can't even get his own word heard until I come out with him, and then all of a sudden he gets that green card back, right? So why is that? Because a quantum claimant is calling this forward and saying, "Hey, here's what's going on." They're listening. They know. Now they have to do something about it. So um, it it is surprising, but it's really a real thing. So um, just understand that there's much more going on behind the scenes than you realize, because there's always filings and timelines going on. That's really what I wanted to share with you tonight, with our guest that couldn't make it. So hopefully she'll get it together and pull in what she can for people here so they can see, and then they'll correlate some more. It'll sort of tie in what you see in the timelines of things you've heard about, and then put it into a different perspective maybe, and why there are timelines running that he's corrected for the betterment of people. So I hope I'm not pontificating, but I wish you all a go jolly evening. I would recommend you deep dive before next week. Again, just absorb that vibration of his voice and feel some of the words that he's saying. Go back to listen. Even if you don't look at it, just put it on and listen to it. That is something you'll begin to hear the message and what he said. These are factual historical performances, folks. This is not something that's maybe we'll think about doing it. It's already done. He did it then, so you know. It's not something that was done. So Sophia, what are your closing comments from the astro realm? Yeah, go jolly too.
Comment is on Sunday. The sun is crossing the threshold from Taurus into Gemini. And when it stands at 0 degrees Gemini, it's making a trine to Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. Both of them air signs dealing with the mental realm. That trine is the path of most allowance. So the sun will be illuminating your lower mind so that you can receive the empowerment coming down from your higher mind.
All right.
It's a great day on Sunday.
Right on. We love it. We love Sophia, don't we? Everybody give a shout out to Sophia for being a trooper and being with us and continuing the drill down of what's going on this month because it's so important. Sophia, let me ask you a quick question, all right? And
Sure.
I hope I'm not putting you on the spot.
Okay.
What I don't know, I'm on fire tonight.
I
Look
know
out.
you are.
Seriously, I know I'm not like this very
You're in
often, am I?
definite rare form, that's for sure.
I told you I don't even drink. Okay, so tell us what June 16th is to you.
Well, I don't understand June 16th in the terms that the other lady who was going to be a guest tonight is speaking to it. Uh, for me, the big date is June 11th
All
because
right.
June 11th, Pluto, which is already in retrograde, is going to cross over the threshold from Aquarius back into Capricorn. It's going to be standing at that 29 degrees of Capricorn, empowerment through sovereignty, mastery of sovereignty. And so, we have the rest of this year for Pluto to be in Capricorn. And then it's going to go back into Aquarius in January. And then a few months next year, 2024, it'll go back into Capricorn. And then it'll be going into Aquarius at the end of the year and staying in Aquarius for the next 2 decades. So this is really the last hurrah. The rest of this year from June 11th and the few months next year in 2024, when Pluto's in Capricorn, whatever you need to do for yourself to master the embodiment of sovereignty, then now is your chance, because it'll be 225 years before Pluto comes back around to Capricorn again.
Look
So this
out. How
is
about that?
this yes, yeah.
Well,
The last time Pluto was in Capricorn is when the Declaration of Independence was signed. And so this is it. You need to create your own revolution, liberate yourself in terms of your own sovereignty. And to me, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a quantum claimant, the best way to claim your sovereignty is to get your claim of the life and get the knowledge.
there you go. There you have it, folks. June 11th is the key date there, so keep that in mind. Hey, Carol's gonna have a birthday on June 11th. That's
Happy
awesome. So
birthday.
you can contact Sophia. Sophia, tell them
Yes.
where they can find you.
My website is goldenraycenter.com. My YouTube channel is the Rose Will Mystery School. And you can email me at Sophia with an F, Mona Lisa, the number 79 at gmail.com. So Sophia Mona Lisa 79 at gmail.com.
Woohoo! All right. Big shout out to Sophia for coming on and giving us this great knowledge. Yes.
Well, and let me just say thank you to your audience, because I've already heard from at least a handful of your audience members. So thank you very
Yay!
much for reaching out to me. I greatly appreciate you.
All right, everybody. There we have it. So we will continue on, and lots of love to everybody. So go jolly, and let's gather in strength, in love, in knowledge, because without you having that knowledge at this point in time, you have nothing else to stand on. It's kind of like standing on the diving board and you think there's a pool below you, and they told you there's a pool below you. And when you dive off, you find out there's no pool below you. So, with the claim of the life, there actually is a pool below you. How about that? And it's your choice how you want to enter the pool. So, go jolly, everybody. Thank you for listening. Please share. And we will be back here with full colon Russell J. Gould next Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can bring your questions and ask those questions. So think about the things you really want to ask. Think about the things that, if you could do one thing that would make the rest of your life easier, what would that one thing be? And I'm not hinting at claims of the life. I'm talking about in your own life right now. Tomorrow you could set the precedent of changing one thing in your life that would therefore make all other things easier. What would that be? I want to read you something before I go. It says here on my desk, an open heart is like an open door, which welcomes what is now. And isn't it ironic those words come from an enlightened living master? So, food for thought. All right? Food for thought. There's many light beings that have been here for a long time trying to work this through and holding us in loving balance until we get it. Let's hope we get it in this window. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you for being here, and thank you to everybody in the chat. Love you.